Hello everyone, and welcome to another video from the Tiny Menagerie. There are over 50 different species of cories freely available to the hobby today, some of which are very easy to come by, and some are considerably more challenging. And the pepper cory is possibly the easiest of them all. These cheap and cheerful little cories with their lovely patterning of light and dark grey splodges, and their slightly elongated snouts are both cute and still quite wild looking. But what do they like to keep, and what kind of setup do they need? Well, peppers hail from South America, like many of their cory cousins, where they inhabit a wide variety of different conditions, from fast-flowing wide rivers to still, shallow pools and even small lakes. And this diversity of habitat is one of the reasons why these fish are very easy to accommodate in the home aquarium. Sometimes it seems like they will put up with just about anything. Fast water? Absolutely fine. No flow at all? Absolutely fine. Dark, light, bright pink sand. These little catfish take it all in their stride. They are also completely unfazed by lighting. They are perfectly brave in even the most brightly lit tank, seemingly always out in the open, snuffling around on the tank floor looking for something to eat. Although, like all small fish, they do like to have somewhere nearby where they can hide, just in case there's a predator just around the corner. And so, if you do keep them in a very open situation, such as a completely bare tank, then they will become very skittish. As to the style of tank though, peppers really don't mind. They are perfectly comfortable in whatever you can provide them with. One thing you will want to provide them with though is a good substrate. They love to dig around looking for food, burying their little faces right up to their gills if they possibly can, seeing what they can snuffle out of the substrate. Sand and small pea gravel are absolutely ideal, as well as somewhere that they can snuffle around, rocks, other bits of decor, anything like that that they can search around. Happy cories are almost always actively looking for something, and if you give them a wide range of different substrates in which to do so, then that makes them extra entertaining for you to watch as well. On the subject of cory foraging, and in particular those barbels, that's the sensitive little feelers on the end of their nose, they can look worryingly delicate, and seeing these little fish rasping their faces over such sharp sand can look a little bit alarming. But not to worry, the substrate will not damage their barbels. In fact, cories are very well evolved to cope with rough ground, as it's what they're used to in their natural habitat. And if you buy a cory that happens to have lost a barbel somehow, then don't worry, they do grow back, much like nipped fins will grow back, although this does take quite a long time, and personally I've never found that they grow back completely. They always remain just a little bit shorter than the originals. And another thing about their constant snuffling around that you may want to bear in mind is that cories are really rather messy little fish. They do like to kick up a lot of dust and detritus, or anything that you happen to have on the floor of your tank. And so if you have a very naturalised tank perhaps, one where you're trying to do as little cleaning as possible, or you have a tank that has very fine sand as a substrate, then it may well surprise you just how much muck these little fish will kick up into the water. Of course, if you're gravel vacuuming to remove the detritus, or if you've got a strong filtration system, then this isn't going to be a problem. The debris will simply get swept away in the current. But if you're creating a very natural tank, and you want pristine, crystal clear water, then you may want to steer clear of Corydoras altogether. But assuming peppers are still on your list of fish to get, then when it comes to water temperatures, once again they are very easy to accommodate. They are happy in anything between 20 and 27 degrees, and I have found them to prefer their water pH to be as close to neutral as possible. I found in more acid tanks, such as black water tanks, they can be a little bit sulky and a bit less active, especially when compared to a normal tank, for example. And so I tried to keep the water pH between about a 6 and an 8. Like all Corydoras, peppers are only small, and even a chunky female is only going to reach about 2 inches in length. Despite this though, they are very active, and they do need a good sized tank to explore. They need a base dimensions of at least 80 by 30 centimeters. And as they're also a very sociable species, they do need to be kept in a group of at least 4 individuals of the same species. So that's 4 pepper cories, not 1 pepper, 1 panda, 1 sterbai, 1 bronze, for example. They do want to be kept with others of the same species. I do tend to find that peppers are not the most dedicated of schoolers, and they spend most of their time off as individuals doing their own thing, but they do like to come together occasionally and rest on the substrate. They just tend not to hang around with each other quite as much as, say, pandas do. They can also be kept with all manner of other bottom-dwelling fish, such as coolies or ottos. They are not territorial in any way, and they're even completely safe to be kept in with your shrimps, as they show no interest at all in hunting shrimps or shrimplets. In fact, cories don't really have any interest in hunting anything, and they can be kept with even the tiniest of little fish and even fry without causing any harm whatsoever. And part of the reason why pepper cories are so harmless, much like the rest of the cories really, is that they have a relatively tiny mouth for the size of fish. In fact, if you're feeding your cories a sinking food, such as pellets for example, you may well find you have to chop them up a little bit smaller, just so that the cories can actually eat them. In fact, for mine, and especially when they're still very young, I like to feed them a lot of flaked food, just because they soften really quickly and they sink quite fast as well, so the cories are able to swallow them with ease. Otherwise, there is a risk that larger fish in the tank will be able to take the pellets from the substrate before the cories get to them. Once they're a reasonable size though, cories are greedy little fish, and they will happily consume pretty much anything from brine shrimp up to algae wafers, just so long as it actually fits in the mouth. As I'm sure you can tell though, cories are probably some of the easiest fish you can keep. They are incredibly robust in terms of their tank styling and parameters, and they would quite happily eat you out of house and home given half a chance. Overall though, they are just a very nice and easy fish to keep. Anywho though, I hope you've enjoyed this little video all about pepper cories. Happy fish keeping everyone, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye!